So we introduce all the loop, for loop, while loop, do while loop. So the next two video, actually, we just want to talk about more. The one thing is we will talk about nested for loop. We have one timetable example for you. Then we have the second video, we will talk about the continue and the break keyword. But before I'm moving forward to the nested for loop, I just want you to remind you couple syntax we need to be careful when you're using the for loop, while loop, or do while loop. Most of the time, any for loop can write in a while loop. We need to know how many times they want to repeat. And here, sometimes for your for loop, right, we need to have 3 arguments, right? But sometimes if your initial value already been declared or assigned before the for loop, the first argument actually can be skipped, okay? As long as you have the variable and your initial value being assigned before the for loop. Then here we have some caution to help you to see the error, be careful, okay? So for the for loop or the while loop, after your square bracket, after your parentheses, there is no semicolon. Okay, so you need to be careful. For the for loop and the while loop, they don't have. And right after your parentheses, that's your block body. The same thing, they don't have the semicolon. So the only one is your do while loop. Right, so for your do while loop, we do have semicolon. Okay, so that's the only one we have the semicolon at the end. So the do while loop is after your do is your loop body. Then you have while condition. So only this one have semicolon. Okay, so that's some syntax you need to be careful when you're using these 3 different loop. So afterward, let's talk about the nested for loop. So nested loop actually means if you have a loop inside another loop, we call they are nested loops. So the nested loop, usually we just consider 2 layers. 2 layers already very big. So we call the outer loop and the inner loop. So of course, like we say, you can be more than 2 layers. Okay, so but they still have they have outer loop or inner loop. Okay. So each time the outer loop is repeat, actually the inner loop are re-entered and start anew. On the other hand, sometimes each time when we get into the loop body, we call one iteration. Okay, so here we just consider the iteration going to the loop body. So when one outer loop is repeat, so that means each iteration for the outer loop is execute. The whole inner loop will be restart and finish. Okay. So on the other hand, this one is if your outer loop you do 5 times, your inner loop do 10 times. So total actually you need to do 50 times because outer loop do 5 times. So each time they will do 1 10, 2 10, 3 10, 4 10, 5 10. The inner loop every time they need to do 10 times. So total is 50. So this one actually is we're using a very good example is about our timetable, right? Because our timetable you can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4 to 9. So then afterward I have outer loop 1 to 9, right? Okay, but each one I need to do 1 times 1 to 9, 2 times 1 to 9, 3 times 1 to 9. So on the other hand, you can think about either way. You can think about this one is outer loop, right? My outer loop, I start 1 to 9. So each time when I outer loop equal to 1, I need to multiply inner loop the same thing 1 to 9. So then they need to multiply 1 by 1. Okay. So supposedly when I say the inner loop and outer loop, they only have the result is this one. But now when I want you to print out your multiplication table, how you can print out, because I also want the outside. Okay, so here actually this side is earlier we say the nested loop. But each nested loop, one thing is we also want to have outer title and an inner title. So how you will display your result like this. Of course, we have the demo file ready for you. But before you do that, I really want you to think how to do that before you see the demo file, how they do that. So maybe you pause the video for a couple minutes, have your pseudocode before you check your demo file. I hope you pause the video before we go to see the demo file. So then we see the demo file. So the demo file, that's focused on the table body first. Okay, so that's the nested for loop earlier we talked about. So that's what I want to show you, right? See, you have your outer loop for I equal to 1, I less than equal to 9. So that's we can do 1 to 9. Okay, so I plus plus. So then you have the inner loop for j equal to 1. So j less than equal to 9. So then, right, so we display I times j. So good, we need, since we display on console, we do system.out.print f. So actually for line 17, 18, 20, 21, we only do, and also including the new line. So you see each inner loop you finish, you have new line. So actually for this code block, except line 19, we finish this part. So that's why I want you to try. You only do the inner loop like that one, you have this. Okay, but one thing is before this inner loop we display, right? We want to display the I value. Okay, so I equal to 1, we do multiply j. So I equal to 2 like that. So that's why I see here, this one, this part, actually we handle in line 19. So this line 19, you see you have your I, okay? So then you have your pipeline, okay? So that's how they display like this. So you need to be careful. We kind of understand nested for loop, we display the turntable, right? But they only display this part. Okay, so then here, before each inner loop, we need to do this part. So that's why I see here, outer loop start. So before I start the inner loop, I need to do this one. So then the inner loop for j equal to 1 less than 9. So then we give them the space. So after we display 1, 2, 3, 4, they multiply 1 by 1. Don't forget you need to have a new line before you go back to the next outer loop. Okay. So right, so after this line 16 to 22, we finish this part. Okay, so now we need to have this header. Okay, so this header actually is we do here. Okay, so we display system.out.print multiplication table. So this one actually need to kind of calculate the width. So if you want, you can using the one string to set the width. So then you have your kind of the new line title. So then you see here for 1, 2, 3, 4 to 9, right? So that's how we display. So this one actually only one loop. So then we need to give them the same space as this one. Okay, because the same space is this one, C4, and this one, they are the same space. So we do the percent for D. So therefore each, they can align in the format. Okay, so that's why I see this one, your line 12, system.out.printf, this 4D, okay, actually match this one. Okay. Also, even here we're using the J, but using I or J doesn't matter because they are one for loop. The variable you define only valid in this for loop. After you're done the for loop, J is gone. So here our nested for loop, we have I and j. They are just within in this scope. Yeah, so that's our multiplication table example. Okay, make sure you are not only using the demo file, play with that to see you can change the output and also know which loop belong to which output format.